The silent transmission. In the year 2025, a pharmaceutical company named VireTech had revolutionized the world with its groundbreaking drug, Erythol. Marketed as a miracle treatment for a range of conditions, from autoimmune disorders to chronic fatigue syndrome, it promised to change lives. The drug's widespread adoption was rapid, and within 6 months, millions of doses had been administered. People praised its success, its promise, and the way it alleviated suffering. However, hidden deep in the chemical composition of erythol was a flaw, one that no one, not even VireTech's brightest scientists, could have anticipated. A tiny, seemingly insignificant modification to the molecular structure had unforeseen consequences. Erythol was not just curing disease, it was altering something far darker, far more insidious. It started with subtle reports. A few women complained of unusual symptoms, persistent fatigue, weight changes, and missed periods. At first, they were dismissed as minor side effects, nothing to be concerned about. But as the weeks passed, the reports began to grow, escalating from a handful of women to hundreds, then thousands. They came from across the globe, from bustling cities to remote villages. Women from all walks of life began to notice the same strange pattern. They could no longer conceive. The connection was hard to make at first. After all, the drug had only been marketed to men and women with specific conditions, many of whom were already dealing with health issues. But the more the pattern spread, the more the connection between erythol and infertility became undeniable. At first, doctors were baffled. They ran tests, conducted interviews, and scoured medical records, but no answers surfaced. Then, a breakthrough. A team of researchers at a university in Europe discovered the terrifying truth. The drug's active compound had an unintended effect on women's reproductive systems, binding to hormonal receptors and permanently altering them. It didn't happen immediately, but over time, it gradually destroyed a woman's ability to conceive. It wasn't just a temporary side effect. It was permanent sterilization. And worse, the drug didn't have to be ingested to cause the damage. It could be passed on through bodily fluids, specifically semen. The implications were horrifying. It turned out that men who had taken the drug unknowingly carried the compound in their sperm. Even if they hadn't experienced any noticeable side effects, they became carriers of the sterilizing agent. As a result, they were unwittingly passing it on to their sexual partners. No matter how careful they were, no matter how much time passed, the damage was done. Women who had never even touched erythol were now trapped in a silent epidemic, one that ravaged their bodies without them even realizing it until it was too late. By the time they learned of the side effect, many had already been affected, often without a single clue as to why their bodies no longer responded to conception. The drug was immediately recalled, but by then, it was far too late. Women across the world found themselves in the same terrifying position, unable to have children, their futures irrevocably altered. The number of affected women grew exponentially as more and more men, unknowingly carrying the drug, passed it along in the most intimate of ways. It spread like wildfire, an invisible disease that tore apart the very fabric of human reproduction. VireTech, in an attempt to mitigate the damage, issued a public statement. They blamed the phenomenon on unforeseen interactions between erythol and the human body, offering financial compensation to those who had been affected. But no amount of money could erase the horror. No compensation could bring back what had been stolen. As the years passed, society began to change. The birth rate plummeted. Families, once the foundation of communities, became fractured. The drug's legacy continued to loom large, even as the drug itself vanished from the shelves. Governments scrambled to find solutions, but the damage was done. The world had changed forever. And though VireTech was never fully held accountable for the catastrophe it caused, the drug's dark legacy remained, a shadow hanging over a generation who would never know the joy of childbirth.